What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Super excited about today's video because we are going to be checking out the mystery of the Great Mary Rose. Now, we really don't know anything about this ship except that it was a ship that sank a long time ago and there is some sort of a mystery surrounding it. We don't really know what the mystery is, but this was recommended in the comments section a number of times, and so we thought it was about time that we check it out. Really like the name, the Great Mary Rose.
I do too. It's a pretty name.
I really want to check this out, not only because people have recommended it, but because I like looking into mysteries.
Yeah, I like mysteries, but I also like ships.
Yes.
Too. Which is interesting because I don't really like the ocean, but I am intrigued by ships. Especially older ones.
I agree with you. I'm very intrigued by ships, but I don't really know a lot about them. It's one of those things that I've kind of started to discover that I am intrigued by since being on this journey, learning about the UK and Ireland and stuff like that. There's a number of things that I've learned about myself. Like, for example, how much I love architecture and cathedrals. That was something I really didn't know about myself before I started this journey. Trains, yeah, that's something else I'm getting very interested in.
And
now ships. And so, guys, enough rambling. Let's go ahead and jump in here and check out the mystery of the Great Mary Rose.
The sinking of Henry VIII's mighty warship, the Mary Rose.
Oh, it's a warship.
One of
Henry VIII.
Maritime mysteries. What happened on that ill-fated day in 1545 has puzzled historians and archaeologists for centuries.
What?
Are those actually skeletons from the wreckage?
Scientists investigating the skeletons have uncovered new evidence about the crew. Their most startling find offers a completely original explanation of why the Mary Rose sank.
Okay, guys, real quick, I just want to ask, do you guys in the UK learn about this specific ship in like school and whatnot?
Cool, yeah.
I don't know. I'm under the impression that maybe that might be the case. This might be a very famous ship within UK maritime history.
I had never heard of it until
I had either.
It was suggested. So,
but this is going to be interesting. So I don't know anything about this. Like, it seems like they found a wreckage or something because they've got bones. They got skeletons there.
Based on the fact that it's a warship, you would think it happened in a war.
And Henry VIII. That's interesting. Henry VIII. The ghost of the Mary Rose.
Ugh, I hate the ocean.
I love the ocean.
I mean, I love it, but I don't want to be in it.
Is this
time capsule? These people are lying there, often clothed in what they were wearing.
Wow.
Carrying the equipment they would have carried. Their personal possessions with them. And you can't help but look at these people. Firstly, sense the tragedy, and then secondly, wonder who they were.
That's crazy.
How did they come to be there? What were they doing on board when they met their deaths there?
In the early 1980s, I volunteered as a diver on the Mary Rose. Today, I'm an intensive care doctor and carry out research at University College London.
My later research has focused on how bones change with exercise and with injury patterns, and you can actually learn a lot about a person from the way their skeleton is. So that's my passion now, is to take that knowledge back 20 odd years. To
Interesting crossover.
Yeah, it really is.
I was one of 500 divers working on the Mary Rose. It was one of the largest underwater excavations ever undertaken.
Really?
Wow.
We never heard of it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So
We found amazing objects.
Where was
Longbows,
it? Or where is it?
Bronze cannon.
Wow.
And alongside these weapons of war,
Oh my gosh.
more personal possessions.
Wow. Okay.
How preserved this stuff is.
I know. You would think, does the salt actually preserve it?
It preserves meat, but
yeah.
But
I wonder, like, metal, I don't think it would. I think it would corrode the metal a lot more. But you got to wonder about things like items of clothing.
Yeah, you would think
and
it
things
would
like that.
erode. And 1545, that's a long time ago.
Yeah,
so.
like we're talking almost 500 years. I would love that, though. Like, that would be so fun to go down and explore something like that.
I wouldn't like it. I like the mystery of it and the discovering.
But you wouldn't want to be with one of the people.
It just creeps me out. No.
I would. I think that would be fun. I wonder how deep it is, though. I don't know where this is located.
The excavation caused a sensation. The Mary Rose was Britain's Pompeii.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
Frozen in time.
That's crazy. Britain's Pompeii.
Up to now, attention has focused on these objects. But what both fascinated and appalled the divers were the human remains.
Look at that!
And a leather jerkin. And
They're just sitting there?
Brought it home to me, you know. This was part of the person's clothing, you know. This, you know, it really came alive to me.
One of the guns was lifted
That's right, there was
and a body trapped
absolutely trapped underneath it.
Under the gun?
You realise how that person died.
He was caught with his arms
Wow.
beneath, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And you imagined this poor fellow trapped under this, probably a ton
That'd be a
of
horrible
bronze,
way to die.
in his last moments trying to shift it.
Oh,
They
man.
can't have thought when they set out that that was what the day held for them. The divers
Wow.
uncovered nearly 10,000 human bones.
Wait.
Okay, wait.
Oh, wait. He's not talking about 10,000 people. He's
Okay,
talking about 10,000
10,000
people.
individual bones.
Yeah, for a second I was like,
but still,
10,000.
that's impressive over
Yeah.
that amount of time.
And specifically to me, I'm looking at the skulls. I'm like, that's crazy that many skulls were recovered.
Wow.
I don't know how many, but it looks like quite a few. So are we talking about there's 216 bones in the human body, right? Obviously, they didn't find every bone for every human, obviously, but is that dozens of people they've been able to recover.
I can see why people were so intrigued by this.
I'm intrigued by this, and it's the first I've ever heard of it. So,
But we had little idea who these people were. Since
Look at that
diving on
ship.
the wreck, I've been haunted by the fate of these men, and I've always wanted to know what happened. The historical records are very limited. We know the Mary Rose was 34 years old and one of Henry VIII's most heavily armed warships. She carried a crew of over 400 men,
wow.
but we don't know who most of them were or where they came from.
Wait,
What?
how?
We only know for sure the identity of one person on board that day.
That's
Just
it?
The
one?
Admiral, George Carew.
The Admiral. Okay, guys, I don't want to pause too much on this because it's a pretty long video. But like, how was it the greatest warship at the time, but they don't know who any of the men are, or where they came from, except for the Admiral? How is that possible not to have
Maybe
those
they just
records?
mean that particular day.
I mean, but like, if it was a warship, you think it would be like,
Regular.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that worked, but you would assume
Regular
that would be the
crew
case,
members
right?
and, yeah,
That
soldiers.
were always part of this ship. You know, that's just how I assumed it would be.
In the summer of 1545, Carew sailed the Mary Rose out of Portsmouth Harbour to engage an invading French fleet. He fired a broadside at the enemy, then a few minutes later had to make a quick manoeuvre to avoid running aground. During this move, in calm seas, the ship took on water, keeled over, and sank.
What? So it wasn't too far off the coast.
The reason for this disaster has always puzzled me.
So they do know what happened.
Well, it sounds like they didn't know what happened, but they may have figured it out. They only know that it was off the coast, and then so for some reason it sank. That's what it sounds like to me.
Oh, I thought he was saying this is definitively what
Well, he didn't give a reason. He just said, this is what it did. It sank. But he didn't really give a reason there to what caused it to sink. Was it shot?
Because it took on water, I guess.
Yeah, but like a ship was made to be able to do that, correct? I mean, I would think ships are made to take
don't know
on
a lot
water and then
about
release the
ships,
water.
so.
I don't either, but from what I understand, you see ships, they go back and forth, water goes all over the deck, and then it goes off, and it releases the water back into the ocean, you know, like, so I would assume that it's built for that. So what happened to make it to where it wasn't able to stay afloat?
I've come back to Portsmouth to investigate further the horrors of that summer's day.
Is it true? I mean, it was said that Henry VIII could hear the screams of the drowning
Absolutely,
sailors.
across the water, the sound travels over there. It is literally just a mile over to.
What?
Oh, wow.
when she sank, the masts,
Oh, yeah, there we go.
the main mast and the foremast were up above the surface of the water.
So,
At this point, she sank.
This is the buoy marking the site where she sank.
oh,
Standing there, watching the pride of his fleet sink to the bottom.
he was watching it?
The death toll on the Mary Rose was horrendous. Anti-boarding netting covered the upper deck. It was coated in tar and sand to make it difficult for enemy boarders to cut through. But when the vessel sank, it trapped nearly everyone inside.
Oh, no. There's
Almost the entire crew of around 400 men died.
Just a mile
So what was
off
happening on
coast.
the Mary Rose in the moments before she sank?
You've got a very concentrated time period with an awful lot of action going on. A lot of noise, the guns going off, the French attacking, everything in chaos. She may have been making that turn too tightly, possibly with too much sail set. So some disorganisation on board. Sir George Carew was shouting across to one of the other English ships that he had the sort of knaves that he could not rule.
Knaves whom he could not rule.
what's that
The
mean?
last reported
I have
words
no
from
idea.
the admiral on board the Mary Rose appear to blame the crew. So were the men responsible
So they
for their
were,
own fate?
the knaves were the people on board? Is knaves short for navy?
I don't know.
The Mary Rose Trust has allowed us to carry out an exhaustive
Is that the
scientific
ship?
investigation of the crew found in the wreck.
Was that
We've
the ship?
examined some of the skeletons in detail, including one who may have played a critical role in the sinking.
That's crazy, man.
When we set out, I had no idea that this forensic detective work would lead to a startling conclusion about why the Mary Rose sank. In 1982, after removing the contents of the ship, the Mary Rose Trust raised her to the surface.
Wow.
They did.
The whole ship?
There is the first sight of this.
That would have been really exciting.
Very much so.
The first time we have seen this in 437
That makes me
years.
tingly.
437 years.
An amazing sight.
Oh my
This oak
goodness.
hull had been a giant coffin for most of the men of the Mary Rose.
Wow. That's incredible.
That would have weighed a lot. You imagine
I'd always
lifting
been
that?
intrigued by the Admiral's harsh description of the crew as knaves whom he could not control.
I don't know what that really
Have
means.
they somehow contributed to the sinking of the ship?
So is he calling them like amateurs?
Or unruly.
Right.
To help lay their ghosts to rest, I'm determined to find out more about the crew. I've returned to the ship, shrouded in its preservative mist, to find out who would have been where and doing what at the time of the sinking.
That was an interesting way to put that. Shrouded in its preservative mist. Like, what exactly does he mean by that? Is that literally just... Does that really mean something? Is there some sort of preservative in the air where it's actually held? Or is he just using that as some sort of, like... descriptor of some sort that I don't quite understand.
I don't know.
That is incredible, though. Like, this is seriously incredible to see this ship here.
Raised from the dead. Basically.
Yes, that's amazing.
Absolutely amazing. Last time I got this close, I was probably about in there somewhere.
Yeah, you remember, I mean, this is diving on the hold here, but
Yeah.
we never saw it like this.
No, I mean, of course, the visibility was absolutely shocking.
I still find it hard to imagine how 400 men crammed into this small ship. But we know they did.
I wonder how big
This
it was.
illustration, completed the year after the ship sank, gives a breakdown of the crew. 185 soldiers, which would have included archers, 200 mariners, and 30 gunners, who looked after the heavy cannon on
So
board.
just over 400, 415.
In time of battle, the soldiers and archers would have been on the top deck. Many of the gunners would have been manning the big guns on the deck below.
Where did you find the bodies? I mean, were they where you expected to find them? Presumably archers would have been on the top deck ready to shoot the French.
Yes, I mean, they would mainly have been on the top decks, but we did find items of archery equipment all around the ship, and we found human remains all around the ship.
All around
So
the ship.
What you can't do is say that everybody that was found on the upper deck was an archer, or that all the archers were found on the upper deck. You know, there is a bit more of a mixture.
So I wonder if they had like
The mixture of skeletons
little like what do you call them, like little safety boats, like little boats to
like
rescue boats, or I don't know what you call them.
dinghy, is that what it's called?
Well, I think that'd be like an airboat, like right now, like a raft, wouldn't it? I'm not really sure, but you know what I'm talking about. Little boats that they would use to go
Like
and,
a rowboat.
yeah, in case the ship sank. And if they did, they obviously didn't have enough time to get on those for one reason
It
or
sounded
another.
like the main escape route was sealed off. That doesn't seem very smart.
Yeah, I know. With some sort of netting.
Yeah.
is going to make this a much harder puzzle to crack. To find out more calls for a scientific study of the remains. I want to see if it's possible to examine the skeletons and work out what jobs they did.
That's interesting.
Is there any way we can
With his
separate
ability
the
to
archers from the
know
sailors
bones.
and the sailors from the gunners?
I received a number of
Is-
huge boxes, and these were full of bones.
Wow.
Nets, right, as they were found. So it was a complete jigsaw.
Oh my word.
As they were
The
found.
job of solving one of the biggest forensic puzzles underwater archaeologists had ever undertaken
That's
fell
incredible.
to osteoarchaeologist Anne Sterland.
Look at the discoloration between the different.
Because of the mix
I
of
know,
bones,
that's interesting.
no one knew exactly how many bodies there were.
And clearly, I mean, we found some skeletons where they were almost intact, sometimes with clothing on and their materials, but in many other cases you had pieces of,
Yes.
of body.
Yes, all jumbled up.
So how on earth do you start assembling a person from massive bones like this?
Well, we started with pairs because we are bilaterally symmetrical. So we've got two thigh bones, two shin bones, two arm bones, etc. So we started by matching, or trying to match, bones that we recognise.
That's
so
big.
There is a pair of thigh bones, and if you look, you can see that they go together quite well. If you look at the bones, you have to look at them very carefully, but you can see that they match. So they belong to that.
Wait, how?
You
okay.
can see that they match.
Yeah, but like,
Somewhat.
I would think that two men that are very similar in height, they're
Would have some. I mean, obviously everyone's unique.
yeah, but I think that over the course of like a number of skeletons, you may have some very similar looking.
that look like they could be mates.
right.
Yeah.
And then we looked at the tibia, the shin bone.
Yeah. So it's really some matching to build them together
Yes,
in
and then
terms
we
of
can-
proportion and symmetry.
That's right. Then we looked at the pelvis because we can fit the femur into the pelvis, and this is a right, so that goes in there like that.
Right.
Isn't that amazing?
We'll work our way up,
Sort
so
of
you
way.
then start and build up the vertebra.
Wow.
I wonder how they
Anne set to
would
work
know that the
sorting
skull
bones
was
into individual skeletons.
part of the.
But only 92 were complete enough to be reconstructed.
Still 92.
Oh yeah, that's a lot.
That's incredible.
The femur is the biggest bone in the human body, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. Look at that.
From these 92, I've selected 3 skeletons for further scientific investigation. Each has unique pathology that provides vital clues about who they were.
That's amazing.
And one of them, the shortest of the 3, may have contributed to the demise of the ship.
It's supposed to the short ones. Gotta watch out for them.
Do we got to watch out for you?
The first skeleton was found in the bow of the ship, in an area used as a store. It's that of a man who was 6 feet tall.
Isn't it amazing? They were alive on a ship, and then all of a
To
sudden,
try to
we're
find
seeing their
out what
bones
he and
500
the
years
other
later.
two men
Yeah.
looked like, I've sent their skulls to medical artist Richard Neve.
Is he gonna like clay face
His
the?
drawings of forensically
know what I mean?
reconstructed
Yeah.
faces
Yeah.
have helped the police solve crimes. The first challenge is to put flesh on the skull.
That is so crazy.
It really is.
He uses modern measurements of flesh thickness collected from living people using ultrasound.
I'm attaching these small wax pegs lightly to the surface of the skull, and they indicate the average thickness of soft tissue at these particular anatomical points.
That's
The
incredible.
measurements are based on
The-
a series of white
wow, it's
individuals
really thick right there.
between the ages of 20 and 29, and they will help to guide the amount of flesh, if you like, that is laid over the surface of the skull.
The amount of
The
detail.
pegs provide critical markers to enable Richard to construct a 3D map of the face.
Is the jaw gone, or is it just the teeth? It's just the teeth.
What I first have to establish is the width of the nose and the position and width of the mouth. Putting an eye in place fairly quickly, put the other eye in.
Sketching by hand produces a likeness with far more character than a computer-generated reconstruction.
That's interesting. I would have thought the exact opposite.
Take the skull away now. He was a very powerfully built man. Massive muscle insertions in the base of the skull and down the side of his face here, the big temporalis and masseter muscles for chewing. Quite clear he was a big, powerful, solid...
It's pretty unbelievable that
Great
that's
for the front
possible.
row of the forward, something like that.
It really
would
is.
be. That kind of heavy, beefy kind of guy.
This description of a big, muscular man could fit most of the crew. To help find out what this man did on the ship, I've sought the advice of osteoarchaeologist Rose Drew. She has studied ancient skeletons from around the world.
Okay, so this is a big guy
Yes.
in the prime of life. Any clues then as to what this man did for a living?
Offhand, I'd say the most striking wear was done on his shoulders. With his shoulder blades, this thing here is called the acromion. And your clavicle, your collarbone, travels from the sternum to the acromion. Well, the acromion is missing its tip. Bones fuse as you age, and the tip fuses on after you're 16, 17, like that. There's the tip. And you can see it's got that kind of a bubbly appearance, so that it was fused in life, but only with soft tissue.
And what stopped this joining, as it should have done?
Well, I think it kept moving when it should have not been moving.
Ah.
It was strained. It was stressed, actually. It's
So
a
this
better
was a
way.
lot of repeated load on this.
Well, whatever he was doing, it was very strenuous to his shoulder area.
This rare disorder is known as os
could he have been doing?
acromiale. So what could cause this man's shoulder blades to be in two parts? In children, the tip of the shoulder blade is joined to the main part by a piece of soft cartilage. This allows the shoulder joint to expand as we grow. When we become adults, this cartilage fuses and becomes solid bone.
Isn't that amazing?
That's
But
really
in our
amazing.
skeleton, this never happened, and the shoulder blade remained in two pieces.
Weird.
Os acromiale can be caused by repeated and heavy loading on the shoulders,
Oh,
and our man wasn't the only person on the ship to have it. 24 other shoulder blades were found with the same condition. So what job on the Mary Rose could cause this to happen?
they were a
Climbing the
mariner?
rigging looks like one possibility.
Maybe.
Sailors would use their arms to support themselves. But the loads don't look great enough. They'd take most of their weight on their legs. So if our man is not a sailor, what other job would fit the evidence? One of the most surprising finds on the Mary Rose was the huge number of longbows and arrows.
Oh.
That is gigantic.
Yeah, it is.
How would you do that?
How long is that?
Many of the soldiers on board must have been archers. Could our man be one of them?
That's interesting. An archer. I guess that makes sense. You're always pulling back. But would that only be with one arm that you use to pull
Pulling a heavy
back?
bow requires
Yeah,
a
you're
lot of
dominant.
strength.
Yeah.
It's just the sort of activity that could cause this disorder. The only problem is that modern archers don't appear to suffer from this condition.
Did they get a
Perhaps
later
wearing a
start
Tudor
on average?
bow put more strain on the shoulder. Steve Stratton is a bowyer. He's gone to great lengths to make an exact replica of a bow from the Mary Rose.
That's cool.
I'd love to test that to see how.
That
Yeah,
the yew trees
I'm
in
interested
this
in
country
archery.
Were
I'd like
used
to
for
learn.
making bows. Well, they were but not for something, a powerful war bow.
Henry VIII wanted the best weapons for his archers, and that meant importing the right type of wood from Europe.
Most of it would have been Mediterranean mountain view above 3,000 metres altitude.
Wow.
And that is what you
Very
want for a
specific.
very good bow. Massive power in it.
This test measures the force needed to pull this replica Tudor bow. Its draw weight is a massive 170 pounds, over 3 times the weight of a modern Olympic bow.
Wow.
3 times?
So could pulling war bows like this cause the shoulder injury we see in the Mary Rose skeletons?
I would say that might do it.
Only a handful of people today have the strength and technique to pull these bows.
Wait, only a handful of people today have the strength and technique to pull that bow. Only a handful.
But back then, that was common. Like,
yeah, but I'm just thinking, like, I mean, only a handful?
I guess we've weakened that much as a
I
society.
mean, because people do all sorts of things that take strength, but for some reason, only a handful have the ability to pull that.
Yeah, that's kind of amazing.
That just goes to show me how impressively built some of these guys were back in the day. I mean, they were probably training from like really young, probably 10 years old or something like that. They got their start really young. Yeah. They were probably taught by their fathers and so forth. Can he?
Stretton is one of them.
Okay.
You're actually physically drawing 170 pounds.
With your,
That's like picking up a 16-stone person with your fingertips.
With your fingertips. That's true.
Mark
Okay.
holds the Guinness World Record for pulling the strongest bow.
Which is?
But
How
the
much was
record
it?
came at a price.
Over the last 2 years, I've started to have problems with my left shoulder, which is largely down to the huge compressive forces that's been inflicted by the bow.
Oh my goodness.
So could Mark be suffering from the same condition as our Mary Rose skeleton?
Oh, they're gonna go get him checked out.
Suffering. Are you?
Yeah, well, on this one. That's okay.
So
to check this theory, I'm putting.
Is it which side is the? So is he left-handed and he's pulling with his left?
You would think it would be the arm you're pulling.
That's what I'm
with,
thinking. But if you were if you were right-handed, you would be pulling
right
with this arm. So he said the left. So he's either left-handed or is actually the opposite. The opposite of what we would think.
Mark through an MRI machine to see if his shoulder bone is in 2 sections.
Is it gonna be?
I bet it will be. I mean, it only makes
that
sense.
amount of pressure.
Yeah.
It's gotta be.
Slice by slice, the magnetic resonance imaging machine builds up a picture of Mark's shoulder.
This looks very much like a repetitive type of injury pattern rather than one particularly big injury mark.
Faris Haddad is a leading orthopaedic surgeon. From the scan, he can tell if Mark has os acromiale.
And you can see this is a sort of relatively worn joint here. But having a problem in that little joint on top of the shoulder is something that's easily solved.
So I'm not ready for the scrap heap just yet, though?
No, I think you've got a way to go.
So Faris, you've looked at Mark's shoulder with this magnetic resonance scan. Has he got osteocromiale, as our archers we think had?
He doesn't have osteocromiale, but he has pathology in the same area. And so
But he's doing it far less often, probably.
Yeah, because he's just doing it as a hobby or.
He doesn't have osteocromiale, which
versus a career.
is a problem that would have developed in childhood. It's a failure of a growth plate to fuse.
So the difference here, we might hypothesise, is that Mark's started loading the skeleton when that had already fused, but if he'd started doing this when he was 6 or 7 or 8,
that makes sense.
Actually, maybe.
We could hypothesise, and it's only a hypothesis, but we could say that if you do this sort of thing at a young age, rather than getting the damage that you've got in the joint, you've got failure of the growth plates to heal properly.
In Henry VIII's time, the longbow, with its armour-piercing power, was still a key part of Britain's defence. But it was only as good as the men drawing the bows. To guarantee an army of powerful archers, English law required male children to practice archery every week.
Wow.
When young archers drew a heavy war bow, the tip of the shoulder blade would be constantly pushed or pulled. It would never stay still long enough to fuse into bone and would remain in two pieces.
Wonder what kind of pain that would have gave you as an adult.
From the evidence, our first skeleton is almost certainly that of a Tudor archer.
He just started training when he was like single digits.
The position of his body in the hold suggests he was collecting supplies when the ship sank. Down here, he had no chance of escape.
That would have been so scary.
But what about our other two skeletons? The bones of our second man suggest an unusually brutal life on board the Mary Rose, while our third man might have been one of those responsible for failing to save the ship. Trapped deep in the hold of the Mary Rose in the galley, the ship's kitchen, divers found the skeleton of a man about 5 foot 4 inches tall. He was discovered with one of his shoes still intact, a knife handle, and a comb.
That's crazy, man.
His body lay among scattered bricks, all that was left of the ship's oven. If he lived and died where he was found, he could have been a cook. And if he was a cook, then we may even have his name. One of the wooden eating bowls recovered from the Mary Rose is carved with the words "Nye Cop," cook. Could this have belonged to our skeleton? Could these be the remains of Nye Cop?
Nye Cop.
What does medical artist Richard Neve think he looked like?
Our second chap, well, he was a young man, 20-something, and by all appearances he was very healthy, very strong. He would have had this kind of youthful appearance.
Is that the 5'4" guy?
There's been some dreadful period in their life where they've been malnourished and so on and so forth. The ravages of time haven't taken their toll.
What do the bones tell us about?
I was keen to learn what osteoarchaeologist Rose Drew would make of this younger man. Did he have the physique of a cook?
One of the first things that struck me when I met him, if you will, was that he had ripped both kneecaps rather dramatically. Well before he died, because they had healed as best they could. But the ligaments that would go from the tibia, the shin bone, on up here, are just ripped and torn.
Oh my
even away from the body of the bone.
Oh.
So whatever he did it at the same time with an equal strain to both legs.
That sounds horrific.
This is osteoarthritis. He's got evidence here that he was doing too much lifting when he was younger on his vertebrae.
So these are backbones again.
That's
here.
the backbones.
So he's wearing himself out, really, this guy.
Oh, he really is. And this, the collarbone, the ligament underneath that attaches it to the breastbone is, again, it's heavily eroded. It's just a big gaping hole.
Oh, my
That's
goodness.
The ligament that's been deeply strained.
Look, he's still got some of his
So,
teeth.
this bloke would have been suffering, presumably, when he's already getting arthritis. He's going to be aches and pains quite a lot.
That young?
Seriously, whatever he did was very hard labor.
This man has some terrible injuries for someone still in his 20s.
Wow.
Whatever
had to hurt.
did, it was probably more physical than being a cook.
How would you do that to both your knees at the same time?
Investigate
Ugh,
further
I don't even
what
want to
his
match
job
it.
might be. We put his bones through a CT scanner. From my own medical research, I know that exercise can alter the shape of bones. The X-ray slices of his upper arm bones can tell us how much he was using them.
So as you go through, you can see that the bone shafts are actually pretty thick.
And this isn't disease that's making it thick. It's bone that's got thick because it was being stressed. It had grown to become strong.
Yes, bone thickness will be...
But Rose has noticed something else about his arm bones.
These are very symmetrical and they're thick.
Right, so this is again heavy loading both sides at once.
Yes, whatever he was doing it evenly on both arms. I really lean more toward heavy objects that are being lifted with both arms,
Right.
pushed with both arms, handled with both arms equally.
The symmetry of his arm bones provides a clue to his occupation.
There was some thought that he might have been associated with the kitchen because he was found down in the hold near the kitchen area. Has these big cauldrons. And you would think that feeding a crew would be heavy-duty work, but I also think it would be very asymmetrical or unbalanced what you'd be doing. You'd be chopping with one hand. You would probably pick up heavy things with both arms.
So
I'm
is
sure.
he
You still do more with
a gunner?
one than the other. And
Messing with the cannons, pushing them,
So
and
given what we
I
know
don't know.
of this skeleton, any guesses as to what he might have been? What would you say he did?
I would really want to say gunner because of the heavy loads involved with doing the gunning.
So potentially a gunner.
But potentially a gunner, yes.
Man, I bet that was hard, heavy work.
Yeah.
I don't know how much those cannonballs, how much they weigh, I don't know, but probably quite a bit. And you probably had to push those cannons back and forth.
And then like pack in the powder, right?
Yep.
If you want to find the nearest equivalent to a Mary Rose gunner today, look no further than Colin Heriot.
Tempo me cartridge.
He's worked with cannon for nearly half his life. He's fascinated by the power of these explosive weapons.
In with the ball. Prick and prime. Give him fire.
Wow. I've never really looked
That
at
would be fun.
Yeah, I've never looked at a cannon close up, really.
Good shot.
Not like that.
Smashed it. And if these splinters are the size of that, Jack.
Okay, so like if you had the cannon, if the warship was pointed at another ship,
Mhm.
I mean that would seriously do some damage and easily sink that ship if you had enough cannons that shot and made holes in that
I
ship.
feel like it wouldn't take very long.
It doesn't look like it would take very long.
It's got to be a metre long or more, jagged end. Take a man's head off. Right.
Yeah, that would hurt.
Forward.
But the big guns on board the Mary Rose were not just lethal to the enemy. Their weight made them extremely dangerous
how much
to
they
sailors
weighed.
drafted in to fire them.
Water up.
What all are they putting in there?
In action was
Paper.
Yeah, I know.
Newspaper.
I was talking about the first stuff.
Powder,
Lots of
maybe.
opportunity for injury.
Look like wood ships.
Death.
Mm.
Okay, 2, 3. Leave. 2. Hold it again. 2, 3. Very good. Push. You've got a moving deck, and you've got sometimes a slippery deck. Every chance of injury, whatever you're doing, because it's heavy, heavy metal.
Right.
You have to manfully lift the gun up on a couple of cross pikes, lift it up, put it in position.
That's interesting.
Then
It went in
foot
the
roll,
opposite direction this time.
Snap, cartilages, ligaments, all go.
Colin has many of the injuries we see in our second skeleton.
I've been working with cannons 22 years now. I'm deaf, as I said, and I'm riddled with arthritis because of the moving of the guns. That knee there is completely shot. And to be quite honest, at my age, if I was in Tudor times, they'd have buried me at sea long ago. Firing!
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that would be a hard
Our
job.
sailor's injury is consistent with an accident lifting the heavy breech of one of the wrought iron guns.
Oh.
If the other end of the breech was dropped, his bent legs would suddenly take all the weight.
Oh.
The instant load would
Oh,
tear off
gosh.
his kneecaps.
Tear off his
The
kneecaps.
injury would leave torn ligaments that would eventually turn to bone, just like those in
So,
the skeleton.
oh my goodness. Can you imagine that?
No, that would be so painful.
I bet this was a very common injury, and both the kneecaps just go.
Man, how mad would you be at the person who dropped the dang thing on the other
Yeah, I
side?
know. I know, because then you're basically screwed for life. Especially back then, there was no way to fix that back then.
Oh.
So we didn't have, surgeons to go in and correct things.
So how was he? They were saying, alluding to the fact that he might have been part of the reason the ship sank. What? would
Yeah,
have been?
was it him or the other guy?
I thought it was him.
I thought it was the third guy. I don't know. I thought the third guy was actually the short one too.
This is the short one.
I thought they were talking the second guy.
This man's
I don't know.
bones are consistent with him being a gunner for much of his time on the ship.
The fact that you can tell all this
I
from
know,
bones is amazing.
It's pretty crazy.
It's unlikely he performed the most physical work. Our first two skeletons were found in the hold. Our last skeleton was discovered in a location
Yeah, that was the
places
second one.
him at the centre of the action.
Oh.
The main deck of the Mary Rose contained the guns and the gun crews. 17 skeletons were found here. One of the most complete was the body of this man.
It's amazing the water didn't
He was
just
shorter than average,
spread him out.
but what makes him special
So this is a short
is
one.
that he was found next to a bosun's call,
I'm a little
a
confused.
whistle used for issuing commands.
Was he...
It implies he was an officer,
Wow.
which means he may have played a critical part in the last moments of the ship. He may well have been the officer responsible for deploying cannons and for opening and shutting the gun ports. Water pouring in through these gun ports sank the ship. Why the crew failed to close them is at the heart of this mystery.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man, so it like bowed over a little bit, water got in, they didn't close them, and...
Could the failure of command rest on this man's shoulders? Can his bones confirm that he was an officer?
This individual is older than some of the other skeletons I've seen.
What sort of age do we think he might have been?
Oh, I think he was in his late 30s into his 40s. The things that would indicate to me that someone has achieved at least the age of 30, the way his collarbones are fused, but also his teeth. He's got bad teeth, which can happen at any age. There's a rotten stump, there's an abscess over here. The teeth
You
are
can
very
still
worn
tell
down. And
that?
you can see dentin. Here is where the enamel has been worn away and actually exposes the dentin.
This man's age is consistent with him being someone in charge. But there's more of his life story etched in his bones.
Here's his collarbone. Let's look at that one. That's the underneath part that would have attached to the breastbone. And you've got the collarbone from the younger fellow with the ripped kneecaps, right?
And they're really very different.
They're very different, aren't they?
So this one's got a great big sort of divot out of it, hasn't it?
Yes, it does. The muscles, the ligaments rather, pulling on this damaged the bone. You can see that.
And on this one?
It did at one time, but it's filled in.
So it's healed.
It's healed. It is healed.
So
The body's amazing.
Really is.
That's continuing to injure the bone. This guy's done some manual labour in the past, and he's now stopped. This guy's had a more sedentary life recently.
Yes, he has.
Okay. What sort of job did this guy do then? He obviously wasn't a gunner or working on the rigging.
Well, I don't think they had any totally useless people on the ship. So if he wasn't the doctor or something like that, you would have to say he was perhaps in a supervisory position.
The bones are consistent with a man who worked his way up through the ranks to the position of an officer. He was not a senior officer. They would have come from the aristocracy.
Oh.
He was almost certainly the ship's bosun or master gunner.
Master
He was
gunner.
an older man, more mature than the others, but likely to be more experienced and possibly somebody to whom they turned when things went a little bit wrong. His face was a different shape, slightly more rounded, slightly more refined nose. And for a man, of course, who's been at sea for most of his life probably, fresh air, wind, sun, all that would have worked on his face so that the creases around the nose and the mouth and the eyes and so on would be that much more heavily marked.
Can you imagine calling someone who's 30s an older man?
Back then.
The gun ports here were close to the waterline, which made the ship extremely vulnerable.
Yeah, that seems like a bad design.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know anything about this, so there might be a reason they have to do that, but it just, on the surface, without knowing anything else about it, it does seem like a bad design. Like
Too much room for error.
Like they obviously seem to have had.
Did something under his control go wrong here that caused the ship to sink? Maritime archaeologist Alex Hildred has investigated the final moments of the Mary Rose. What happened to the ship rested on the actions of those on the gun deck.
How do they know this stuff?
How close to water would we have been?
About just over a metre from the water
Is that
line
all?
here.
That seems pretty dangerous to me.
Well, it is, and that's probably why she sank. And that's another reason to suggest that when the ship healed, having fired around,
you know, it's entirely consistent with the fact water would have come through the gun ports and overwhelmed the ship.
So
and the
as
gun
water
port
starts-
lids were open. You know, they were found open and
Oh,
hinged
they were.
against the back of the
Oh.
ship.
So as soon as water starts trickling in, we've now
You've
got...
had it. You're beginning to go over in a big way.
And so the gun port lids would have been raised and lowered by some poor fellow standing above. And these were heavy?
Well, 55 kilos, 50 kilos, and pulling against a ship that's moving.
So if kilos, is there 2.2 pounds to a kilo, or is it? I don't know. I can't remember, but that sounds fairly heavy to me.
Yeah.
But you know, what's amazing? That had to be watertight.
When it was shut. Yeah.
Right. I think that's pretty amazing.
Which is, yeah, that's...
That back then they were already building watertight, you know, doors and whatnot.
It's quite a long way over, and having to pull this down at the behest of the master gunner when there's all sorts of noise happening, with the only communication being through a ventilation shaft there. And it's no wonder they didn't manage to shut the lids.
In the chaos of battle, with all the shouting and guns going off, it would have taken a very clear chain of command and a very disciplined, well-rehearsed crew to close the gun port lids in time. So how closely knit was the crew of the Mary Rose? Were they a well-drilled team that had trained together? Or was there some problem in the chain of command?
Real quick, I just want to mention, I just realized that the people shutting it, like she was saying, they were not in the ship.
No, they were up above on another
and
deck,
so you had to, in this noise and chaos, you had to somehow communicate with all the people that are shutting these, you know, and the gunners below.
It just seems like a very impractical design all the way around.
It does. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I mean, back then, you know, it was limited on how you could create a better design, I'm guessing. But, you know, there seems to be, it seems like there would have been some other way to make it more efficient. You know what I mean?
Forensic science is about to reveal a startling discovery that may rewrite the story of the Mary Rose. To pinpoint the geographical origins of our 3 crew members, we've sent the skulls to undergo an innovative test with forensic expert Lynn Bell.
We're going to sample the enamel. So I'll show you, it's a very small sample, you can barely see it when we take it. So we aim for the molars, and we just sample one.
And what can you tell from that when you've analysed it?
We can hope to regionalise that person.
So you might be able to give us an idea of where these people
came from. Yes.
What? How?
That's incredible.
At Bradford University, Lynn's colleague, Professor Julia Lee Thorpe, extracts enamel from our 3 skeletons. The composition of our teeth varies according to where we lived as children. It depends on the type of water we consumed during the time our teeth were forming.
Bizarre.
Water molecules in clouds come in different forms. Some water molecules contain heavy atoms of oxygen, others light oxygen atoms.
What?
When it rains, the cloud releases more of the heavy type in warmer regions.
Oh.
This means the water
And you
in the
can
soil
tell that by
varies
tooth
slightly from
enamel?
place to place, and these differences can be plotted on a map.
Wow.
The water in the soil is absorbed into the plants we eat, and in growing children, eventually finds its way into their teeth.
That is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Using a mass spectrometer,
I never knew that.
Julia and Lynn can determine roughly where our 3 men lived when they were young.
First skeleton, we got a number of -5.5.
So this is our potential archer.
This is the potential archer. If we look at 5.5, that puts him tightly into the British range. There's no doubt about him.
Right. Could be southwest England or southwest Wales, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
And the next one? Oh, the bosun.
4.6.
4.6. They're quite different.
Yeah.
Not much of it, is there? I mean,
No.
you'd have to be right down here.
I mean, it's very much on the edge.
So sort of southwest Ireland or really
Southwest England, yes,
Cornwall.
Cornwall. And then...
So this is our potential gunner.
This is the gunner.
4.5?
4.5. And this is an interesting value.
That's very low compared
we
to...
don't really see a 4.5 on this map.
Right, so he might not be a native Brit.
He may not be.
Lynn has also analysed a larger sample of crew members.
You've looked at 18 skeletons overall. How does that compare to the distribution of the other skeletons?
Well, it compares really well because of my sample of 18, potentially 60% of the crew wasn't British on that day.
Whoa!
And upwards of a half of the crew of Mary Rose might not have been native Brits.
Wow!
A third to two-thirds, actually. It was a huge surprise to me. I was expecting them all to be British.
Wait, so if I'm understanding correctly, this was King Henry VIII's prized warship. And
in 1545.
And like roughly half the crew may have not even been native British, and they were fighting, I guess, for King Henry VIII.
Where would they have been from?
That is mind-blowing.
They wouldn't have been slaves, right?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think they would have said something about that.
Right.
Being, if that was even possible. But we got down to 4.6 in the lower end, right there, the low end near Cornwall and some of Ireland.
Yeah.
4.5, I would think maybe it's just were they French or something? It seems like they would have just been a little farther lower. You know what I mean? Because it seems like
they're west.
Yeah.
But what's?
I don't know. I don't know what that. I don't know where 4.5 would be, but it seems like it couldn't have been like crazy far away.
But really local, but
right, but not in Britain.
That was my expectation.
And mine. Because I always had this sort of idea that these were just, hearts of oak, as it were, British crewmen.
If these men weren't British, where did they come from? And what were they doing on this quintessentially English warship?
That is mind-blowing.
Teeth rules out Britain and countries in Northern Europe.
Oh.
It suggests that the men grew up in a warmer climate, probably somewhere in southern Europe. It's also known that at this time, Henry VIII was short of skilled soldiers and sailors, and was trying to recruit mercenaries from the continent. In Henry's state papers, there's one account in particular that appears to fit the evidence.
Spain?
6 months before the Mary Rose sank,
Spain.
9 ships were caught in a storm in the English Channel. They sought refuge in Falmouth Harbour in Cornwall. And on board were 600 Spanish soldiers.
Wow.
Starving and out of money, they were pressed into service for England.
Oh my goodness.
It's possible that some of these men were on the Mary Rose. The discovery that up to 60% of the crew came from overseas offers a new explanation of why she sank.
It does.
I have the names I cannot rule.
Yeah.
It's that strange remark.
Oh, the language barrier, do you think?
Just before sinking. I mean, it really does. For me, it just conjured up a picture of a zoo, really, of languages,
Well, you certainly wonder that if the boat did start heeling over and water started coming in, your chances of being able to do anything to rectify that, if actually you can't even communicate properly with your crew, because 60% of them don't speak fluent English, potentially.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
It's a recipe for a disaster.
Wow.
We may never know exactly what happened below decks as the Mary Rose sank, but the bones reveal a hidden story about her crew. The men who died here on that summer's day in 1545 were a mix of sailors from Britain and men far from home. The sight of those trapped skeletons left an enduring impression on me.
I would imagine. It'd be pretty haunting.
It's left an enduring impression on me as well.
How many
Just find out
of those
about this.
men from southern climes can have imagined they would end their days on a warship, fighting and dying for the King of England?
Guys, that was incredible.
Yeah.
What a twist at the end. I always love that. I always love when you go into this and you don't expect what it ends up being.
No, like you couldn't have ever guessed that that's where it was going.
That was absolutely mind-blowing to me to just think. I mean, I learned a lot through this. More than just about the Mary Rose, I learned a lot about genetics and how bones can tell such a story.
Yeah, even so long after the fact.
I know, that's
being
amazing.
down in the ocean for hundreds of years.
They can literally tell mostly what they likely did for employment,
where they were from based on the rain molecule.
That is mind blowing. Like that's crazy. Like, 'cause it's not even like, oh, this is the water the kids drank when they were young. No, this is the water that fell on the ground that fed the crops that somehow fed them. Like, that just goes to show you like
how interconnected everything is.
Yes, but the biggest mind blowing thing about this obviously is the fact that there were literally up to 60% of the men on this ship were literally probably Spanish soldiers or Spanish.
Definitely not British, so.
They weren't soldiers. What were they? Spanish?
Yeah, they were soldiers.
Were they soldiers or were they like part of were they just maritime?
No, I think they were soldiers.
Okay. But they were from Spain. Yeah. And they basically, they needed a refuge and they ended up working for the King of England.
So they were forced to make ends meet by serving the British military.
And then it ultimately was the downfall of them and everybody else on the ship because of the
language barrier. Which that makes so much sense.
It does.
I mean,
it does, because at the start, at first I'm like, how could if they didn't get shot down? The King of England, Henry VIII, was supposedly, it's what it sounded like, he was like looking at the ship when it happened.
Yeah, it was literally within eyesight.
Right.
So.
And so like that, they would have said, oh, it got shot down. But to them, they had no idea what happened. It sounds like, because it just like all of a sudden, ship just went down for some reason. And it was all because of the language barrier. And so the guys up top, I wonder if
I don't know if they were the ones that were Spanish speaking, or probably, and the gunners were probably the Brits.
The gunners were like, all right, we're out. We pulled back. Go ahead and shut the hatch or whatever.
Yeah.
And they just had no idea what they were saying.
Wow.
That is incredible.
Sad, too. I mean, it's just...
I'm glad you guys recommended this. This was very, very interesting. I'm like we both said at the beginning of this, we're very interested in learning more about ships. Love mysteries like this. Love just all this sort of thing. So if you have any recommendations about anything regarding ships, mysteries, all this sort of thing, please let us know in the comments. Also reminded me, we haven't hardly at all dived into any of the famous kings or queens.
Yeah.
Queen Victoria, what's her name? What's Mary? The old Mary, Queen.
Bloody Mary?
Bloody Mary, yes. Henry VIII. I mean, there's so many, and I want to learn about some of these kings and queens. But guys, yeah, this was awesome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestions about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow us on our journey. Until next time, guys. Peace.